We've opened our program today with the overture Tam O'Shanter by Malcolm Arnold, as performed by the New Symphony Orchestra of London, conducted by Alexander Gibson. And our day today is devoted to Monster Mania. Our guest on microphone is the grandmother or grandmama of the Addams Family, Blossom Rock, a woman who's had an exciting career in the theater. How many years, Blossom?
Oh, I don't tell you the number of years, except to say that I was born in this century.
What has this newfound fame done to your life now?
It's kept me busy.
Yes. What happened?
Being a widow, I need occupational therapy.
I see.
Boy, that's a big word.
That's a good line.
mouthful.
Do you find any exciting things happening to you when you travel around the country?
Yes, I meet a lot of people that I otherwise wouldn't meet, not that they recognize me. Nobody recognizes me, but I always manage to bring in who I am, Ham.
Well, I've heard that, according to the children, that you're a very lovable person.
Well, thank you, sir.
And how does this affect your visits home in Philadelphia?
Oh, well, when I was in Philadelphia, this I must tell you because I was visiting with my sister who lives in the suburbs.
Yes.
And the houses are quite a distance apart, and they're all on a hill. And one night I decided I'd take a walk at sundown, and so they were building a new house down the street, and I like to go through new houses, under construction. So I walked down the street.
Haunting them?
No, well, they kind of scared me.
I see.
Walking across planks that aren't filled in yet, but it's fun. I used to do it when I was a kid, when I was more agile. But I didn't fall or anything. I came home all in one piece. But as I was walking down the street, kids would come from the different houses and join up with me. And of course, almost each child had a dog or dogs. So at the end of my walk, I had about 12 children and 8 dogs, various breeds. No thoroughbreds. Well, maybe one boxer that could be called a thoroughbred. But the kids were all thoroughbreds. I say that because they liked me.
Oh, that's wonderful. Blossom, you started out at what stage in the theater? This was an exciting time for a stage in America when you were starting out, wasn't it?
Well, I started out to be a dancer. And I went to New York to get a dancing job when the equity strike was on. I didn't know there was such a thing as equity. I didn't even know what equity meant.
Yes.
Unless it meant that everybody gets a fair shake. But there was an equity strike, and here I am looking for a job. So I went to work in a nightclub, but the girls talked so dirty I left. Now, can you imagine?
That's amazing. Well, this is happening.
Now people don't shock me. I guess I got used to it. But in those days, I was really shocked.
Well, your sisters went with you to New York at that time, did they?
No, I went alone.
You went by yourself. You were the first one on the stage.
Yes. My older sister, Elsie, always played the piano for us for practice, and when Jeanette did jobs.
You see, I haven't told anyone who your sister is yet. You just let a little cue go through.
Well, do you want to tell them?
Yes, would you?
Huh? Shall I tell them?
Let's talk about your wonderful sister.
All right. My sister, Jeanette MacDonald, now there. And
Yes.
she's gone.
Well, she was a bright star for all of the American people.
Yes, she was.
And you girls were responsible for her getting her first job in New York. Is this
I
right?
was,
You
yeah.
were.
Because my father was out of work, and I saw all the kids in the show who couldn't do any more than Jeanette could do, and I didn't see any reason why she couldn't come over and help with the family budget.
Yes.
So I went down to Mr. Wayburn and told him that I had a sister who could sing and dance. She also played the piano, and that was a big accomplishment. And so he said, well, have her come over sometime. So I sent my father a special delivery letter. Of course, you never sent telegrams in those days unless somebody died.
Yes.
And especially if you were broke. And we never had very much money, so I sent a special delivery letter. My father came over with Jeanette on an excursion train. In those days, you could go from New York to Philadelphia for $1.
That's amazing, isn't it?
On the train, of course.
It takes $1 now almost to go from here to Beverly Hills, doesn't
$1 for the porter to carry your bag. To get on the train. And so she went downstairs. He said, take her down the basement. I took her downstairs, and she sang and danced for Mr. Wayburn. And don't forget, I had been rehearsing with that show for 13 weeks before we opened.
Yes.
And I had a blister on every piece of my feet. There wasn't an inch of skin without blisters. And she came over, and he said, she can go on tomorrow.
Oh, imagine that.
She can go on tomorrow.
Did she go on the next
She
day?
did. She went in the Indian number.
Well, that was really something.
That's where you sat on a can, and this man named Will something or other, he worked something like Will Rogers.
Yeah.
You know, he swung a lariat, a great big lariat, and he swung it over the heads of the girls who were sitting on these cans, real cans, you know,
Yes.
the other kind.
Well, Blossom, in your life with the Addams family, is your home life any different than the average American home?
My home life, no, it's just the same. I still push the mop because I can't get a cleaning woman.
No, I'm speaking of the Addams family.
Oh, and the Addams family
Yes.
home?
How is your home life different?
Well, I don't push any mops there.
You have a butler there, don't you?
We have a butler to do our work. I do a little cooking.
Yes. Well, what sort of food do you feed this family?
Oh, we have eye of newt, and we have octopus, broiled octopus. Have you ever tasted it?
No, I haven't. I'm afraid
Neither
I
have
haven't.
I. I just cook it, let somebody else eat it.
Well, I thought it would be nice to play a recipe musically that was concocted by composer Roussel in your honor today, as long as we're having luncheon at the Music Center.
Oh, really?
I
What's
thought
it
we would
called?
serve the main course called The Spider's Feast
Oh,
by Roussel.
wonderful.
So this performance is by the Paris Conservatory Orchestra conducted by André Clutons. We have heard The Spider's Feast, ballet music by Roussel, as performed by the Paris Conservatory Orchestra conducted by André Clutons. And we're having luncheon at the Music Center with Grandmama of the Addams family, so we thought that this would be a nice diet for our program today. Blossom, what do you think of that sort of feast?
I think it's wonderful. I wouldn't mind tasting that myself.
And the real name for Grandmama, of course, is Blossom Rock, who is one of the real pros of show business, who has had a career which included dancing and vaudeville. What else have you done?
Oh, dramatic shows and musical comedy shows.
You used to have another series that you were on in motion pictures that was quite a famous role that you played,
Oh, the
Blossom.
Dr. Kildare series.
Yes.
And I was Marie Blake in those days, which name I paid $5 for, and which name I wish I had the $5 back for. It's not very good English, but anyhow, it cost $5. But I thought it was very lucky because right after I got the name, I got a picture contract. So I think it was worth $5.
Well, how come you had to pay for a name?
I got it from a numerologist.
Oh, you did?
Sure.
Oh, do you believe in numerology?
Well, I used to, but I don't now.
How do
Because
you...
I didn't like that name.
Yes.
I once had a cousin whose name was Marie, and I disliked the name because I disliked her. And people would speak to me on the street, and I'd look around and say, hello, Marie, and I'd look around to see who they were talking to.
Now, how many of the Dr. Kildare series did you do?
Oh, about 15 or 16. If you stay up late enough at night, you'll watch it.
Oh, I've seen them, yes. How do you compare these with the Dr. Kildare series that's on television now? Do you have a chance of comparing them?
It's a poor copy.
It-
Because I'm not in them, that's why. And none of the original cast has ever been in them.
Well, of course, the original Dr. Kildare was Lou Ayres.
Lionel Barrymore and Van Johnson.
Yes.
And we came across a still the other day where Barry, who played, Barry Kelly is his name. He's now a famous dramatic actor. He was a small part player. Horace McMahon.
Red Skelton?
Red Skelton.
Yes, I remember he was
And,
the wacky doctor that you played
Yeah.
some wonderful scenes with.
Nat Pendleton. All these people were in these old stills.
Well, most of these people who were in the films at the time you were in there had their growing up in the business from the New York stage and from stock. Isn't this
That's
true?
right. And Metro had a stock company then, and they used a lot of their stock actors
Yes.
in the Kildare pictures.
Do you think that that we have suffered in the motion picture business because of the lack of this today?
What, of the stock companies?
Yes.
No, we have so many little theater groups around town from which the agents can pick people who have possibilities, and also the producers can go to those theaters, I'm sure.
Now, do you feel that the television is a good training ground for young people in the show business today?
Well, I don't think they can train on television. If they're lucky enough to get a job, they can learn something, but I think they have to train somewhere else.
Now, what is the thing to learn when you're working in a series like The Addams Family?
Keep your mouth shut. I made a suggestion today at rehearsal, and the director said, "You the director now?" And I said, no, but you can put a sign on my door, because if you get too fresh, he puts a sign on your door, you know.
He does.
That you're a producer, director, actress, and so forth.
Well, what sort of funny things happen on the set of The Addams Family? Do you have a real family spirit, or?
Oh, yes, we have a lot of fun. Oh, in the last episode, I was supposed to, well, maybe I shouldn't say it, slide down a fire pole. And I told, when the script came up, they asked me if I would do it. And I said, sure, because my grandpa was a fireman, and when we were kids, he used to take us to the firehouse and let us slide down the pole, and I thought it was great fun. And then I got to thinking, well, you're not a kid anymore, and suppose you break a leg, who's going to stay home and nurse you, you know, and you're going to lose your job and everything. So a couple of days before they get ready to shoot it, I went over to him, and I told him I was chicken, that I didn't think I could do it. And that means they'd have to get a stand-in. See,
Yes.
well, this is a little short notice. But anyhow, they said, well, if we boosted you up, would you slide down? I said, sure. But it was stepping off the platform
Yes.
onto the hole, you know. I don't like to step in holes that deep. And so they boosted me up. It took two men, because I weigh...
I would think on the
I
Addams...
weigh between 125 and 130, and one man was grunting, so they called for an assistant. So the second time they did it, they had two men boosting me up high, and I was almost to the hole when I reached up, you know,
Yes.
and then I slid down from there, and that was fun. I didn't mind that.
Well, I would think that stepping in a hole on the Addams Family would be a grave situation.
Hey, you ought to be one of our writers.
We were talking about the recipes that you have as grandma on the Addams Family Blossom. What are some of the strange results from the recipes for the food that you use?
Well, I got a request from a school teacher in Metzger, Louisiana, who wanted some of our recipes for a cookbook, which they were compiling to build a new gymnasium. So I sent her the recipe for eye of newt. Well, of course, I don't cook eye of newt except on the set. I
Yes.
never use it at home because
It's
I
a pretty
can't get any newts.
Pretty powerful concoction to take away from there, isn't it?
Yeah. Besides, I'm not a very good cook, so I got a cookbook, and I copied scallops.
I
You know,
see.
scallops, they're little sea things, you know.
Yes.
Anyhow, you dip
Creepy
them in
things.
No. Oh, they don't move after you get them home. They only move in
You
the
hope.
store. Anyhow, I got the recipe out of the cookbook. I have many cookbooks, slightly used, and I copied this recipe for scallops. Only I suggested she use eye of newt. I didn't tell her it was a recipe for scallops, of
Yes.
course. And I used eye of newt, and I used decomposed granite instead of breadcrumbs, and axle grease instead of deep fat that you fry them in, and snail's trails for white of egg. I was a little bashful about that one because I didn't know she ever saw a snail trail. I see them every morning, unfortunately.
Well, Blossom, I hope you don't invite me to lunch as reciprocation for this one, because I don't think I can take it.
No, you're better off here, I'm sure. You know, you sound a little bit like Ted Cassidy, and your name is Cassidy. Are you any relation? Ted Cassidy plays Lurch on our show.
Well,
You have a deep voice like he has. Not quite so deep, but I bet you could go down a few tones, couldn't you?
oh yes, well, you see, as a singer, I can go down into the bass register, but you think I'm a bass individual? Is that why you asked if we were related?
No, I think you're a very nice individual.
Well, Blossom, getting back to Jeanette, your wonderful sister who charmed the world for so many years, did you have any favorite songs of hers that you liked?
Yes. My favorite of all favorites is Monte Carlo, especially the lyrics. I can hum them and say those lyrics in the morning and get an inspiration for the day.
Isn't that exciting?
I really can.
Now, what was the reaction in your family when Jeanette came out to make her first picture?
Oh, of course, we were very excited. We had a movie star in our family.
This was really the top thing in those days,
Yeah,
wasn't
in
it?
1928, when her picture opened, I think it was, what's that, the Astor? Yeah, the Astor, that long theater. No, it starts with a C.
Not the Capitol?
No, it's a long theater.
I've never
between...
been to New York, so you
you
have me.
haven't?
No.
Well, anyhow, it's between 42nd and 43rd, and it takes up the whole block. and we stood in line to get in to watch that first movie. Oh, that was very thrilling.
Well, as the one who started your sister off in show business, this whole career must have been something to you, something really personal. And
Well, yes, it was, except I don't feel that I gave her such a start. If she had just been a friend, I would have done that same thing for a friend.
yes.
After all, if anybody has talent, they deserve to be shown, to be seen, you know.
Well, I thought it would be nice for us, in your honor and in Jeanette's honor today, to play some of her wonderful recordings. And I've selected the one that you like so much, Beyond the Blue Horizon.
Oh, did you? Oh, wonderful.
And her Italian street song from Naughty Marietta, which was such a success.
I love that.
Then Lover Come Back to Me, and One Kiss from the New Moon by Sigmund Bromberg.
Oh.
And here are songs by Jeanette MacDonald.
Oh.